Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to 10 Tips. 10 tips of effective observation in an early childhood setting. All right? So let's get started with number 1. Numéro 1. All right? Determine your goal. I'll say it again. Determine your goal. Before you can take any observations of a child, you should determine the final product and what it's going to help you learn. Right? Let's say that again. Before you can take any observations of a child, you should determine what the final product is going to help you learn. Are you trying to see how a child is progressing in a particular domain or skill? Or do you want to observe how a child interacts in a new situation? All right, let's break that down a bit. Are you trying to see how a child is progressing in a particular domain or skill? So let's say you have a 1.5-year-old, right? Little Tommy, 1.5. It's lunchtime. And we want to see if Tommy is able to be self-reliant. Is he independent enough to eat by himself, right? How can he manipulate a spoon or a fork? Is he able to hold it in his hand accordingly? His fine motor skills, are they adapt, right? So, we give little Tommy a spoon. They give him his plate of food. Let's observe what little Tommy is going to do, right? So, does little Tommy pick up the spoon? How does he pick up the spoon? Does he pick it up with his left hand or his right hand? Does he play with the spoon? Or does he put the spoon into his food? Or maybe he puts it into his mouth right away. Right? Does he hold the bowl with the other hand and then dig the spoon into the bowl? Or does he just dig the spoon into the bowl and throws the food? What is little Tommy doing with the food in front of him and the spoon in his hand? If it's even in its hand, right? So these are things that we want to observe. Is he able to pick up the food with the spoon and then put it into his mouth? Does he make a mess? Does he try again? Or does he get frustrated and throw the spoon away and throw the food on the floor? Right? These are things that you are going to encounter for sure. And again, don't get upset if the kids make a mess. Again, they're learning. It's their first time. They've only been on this earth for maybe, I don't know, Tommy's 1.5, so he's only been on this earth for 1.5 years. This is all new to him, all right? So it's not our job to just discipline them because they made a mess or did something that isn't, that doesn't make us happy, right? In terms of, oh my goodness, they made a huge mess. Now I have to clean it up. It's normal. Get used to it. They're going to make messes. They're going to make a lot of messes, right? They're children. They haven't been here that long. They're all learning. So be patient. I'm going to say it again. Be patient with them. And your goal is to guide them along, to help them through the process and let them know that it's okay. It's all right if you made a mess. Let's clean it up together, right? This is all part of your job as an educator, okay? So, again, are you trying to see how a child is progressing in a particular domain or skill? We use the example of Tommy eating by himself, becoming more independent, more self-reliant, right? Over time, he'll be able to use that spoon, hold it properly, feed himself, and therefore nobody will have to help him anymore. He'll be able to do that all by himself. And voila, he's reached the milestone of feeding himself, just like that, right? Or do you want to observe how a child interacts in a new situation, right? Little Sally, she doesn't have any siblings. She's an only child. So she's not used to being around other children. So let's go ahead and put little Sally in the middle of our circle time with the rest of our friends and see how she adapts to being around other children. Is little Sally happy? Is she excited? Is she engaging? Is she approachable? Does she want to play with the other kids? Is she playing with the other kids? Or is she very withdrawn? Is she sad? Does she go off and play by herself, right? So introducing children to new settings, right? Or even introducing new things to the kids. How do they react when you introduce something new? When you want to teach them something different? How are they reacting to that, right? That is also part of your observation. So again, number one, determine the goal. Before you can take any observations of a child, you should determine your final product and what that's going to help you learn about that child. All right? Number two, choose a structured approach. There are many different ways to make observational notes. Often examples of observational documentation are running detailed records, but depending on your objective, there are other types of observations that may be more useful. For example, a developmental checklist, right? You will learn these as we go further along in this course, the ways that you'll be able to document. Developmental checklist, anecdotal records, a specimen record. There's many different types that we're actually going to look at later on, so I don't want to go too deep into this. But again, choose a structured approach, okay? There are many different ways to take observational notes. Choose the right one that pertains to your activity, okay? All right, going for number 3. Set yourself up for success. Simple as that. Set yourself up for success. As an observer, you should aim to physically situate yourself on the sidelines, right? You're an observer, you're watching, right? So you want to physically situate yourself on the sidelines, ideally away from where the children being observed are interacting, right? You don't want to involve yourself too much when it comes to interacting, when it comes to observing the children, just because that can get in the way of their learning, right? You're there to see how are they playing together, right? If they're playing together and someone gets upset, what got them upset, right? That's where you may intervene, is to see if the problem is not being resolved by itself, then you would go in there and guide them on how to properly resolve this issue. How about we share, guys? How about we get another toy and then both of you can have a toy and then we can share, we can pass it around, right? Instead of fighting and struggling over it, right? But first you're gonna sit back and you're gonna watch to see, are they able to problem solve? Is one of the children going to let go of the toy? Are they gonna fight over the toy? Is one gonna say, it's okay, you can use it, I'll use it after? Or maybe one will say, hey, let's share. Or maybe one will go and find something else to do, right? This is all part of your observations. Also, you want to keep a safe environment, right? So as you're watching from the sidelines, you're also making sure that everything is in place in case things get crazy, like someone decides to hit or someone decides to bite, that you're right there to jump in and intervene and make sure that they're okay and it doesn't go that far. All right? So, number 4, don't forget the basics, all right? To ensure that your observations can be used in context with past and future notes, make sure to note the date, time, location, and all the educators and children that were present. There may be other important situational details to note, such as the activity being completed or the theme that is being explored, right? I believe that speaks for itself. Basically, when you are documenting your observations, you want to make sure that you document the date, the time, who was there, what kids were in the classroom, because all those play a part in the actions of a child, the growth and development of a child, right? So also that way you can go back to it, you know, a month down the line and be like, hey, a month ago, little Angela wasn't doing that. And now look at her. She's able to do it now, right? So a month ago, little Angela was not able to, we're gonna say, run. All right? And now, look at her. She's running just like that within a month. What happened, right? Between that time, right? And as you look back and when you document before, you'll see, you know, the date, the time, who was around, what teachers were there. I don't like that.